Ladies and gentlemen, I know that many of you are still eating. I'm going to interrupt your meal for just a moment and ask that all of you take just a moment, as you do at any good game, stand for the playing of the national anthem. I was not at all surprised to hear somebody say play ball. The only thing that surprised me was that all of you didn't say play ball. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again. On behalf of the National Sportscasters and Sportswriters Association, once again, the people of Salisbury, North Carolina, welcome you. We bid you fair welcome to our town and hope that you will return many times, because you're always welcome here. This is the 37th time we have opened our door and our hearts to the people who make sports so real for all of us who can't be there ourselves. For that, we say thank you. A simple thanks seems so little for all that you do for us, and yet we don't have any words that express it any better than thanks. Let me ask anyone who is a sportscaster at this time to please stand. Let us look at you. Sportscasters, any sportscaster, stand up. Maybe that was a little better thanks. All the sports writers, could I see you please? Stand up. Sports writers. And I hope to you that says thank you a little bit better. You are our eyes, our ears, and our presence at sporting events throughout the nation. This weekend is the least that we can do for you. Again, we say thank you. The gathering in Salisbury each year is but a very small part of all of the people all over this nation who honor you. So again, we welcome you to Salisbury. At this time, I am going to ask that you pause for just a moment with me in remembrance for some folks who have passed away since our last meeting. We're always saddened by those losses, but we can remember happier times. 19 years in a baseball uniform, 17 years as a New York Yankee, with a lifetime batting average of .298, 536 career home runs, American League MVP 3 times, World Series home run record of 18, World Series runs scored record of 42, World Series RBIs record of 40. He played in 2,401 games as a Yankee and became a member of the Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Fame in 1974. His first year of eligibility. Ladies and gentlemen, a name never to be forgotten in the annals of baseball history, number 7, Mickey Mantle. He never wore a uniform, he never played a professional game, but he could handicap any sport. His analysis, his predictions, and his commentary were legendary. Known for his writings and his appearances on television, the American public embraced the humor and personality of this man of the people. Let's remember the man and the contributions of a man known only by his nickname, Jimmy the Greek. Many of you will not recognize the next name because she was a behind-the-scenes worker for NSSA, one of our own. You will see her name on items in the goodie bag, and that was only a very small part of what this lady did for you and for all of us here in Salisbury. For all of you who benefit from your time with us in Salisbury, you will recognize her stamp and her name on many things. We will all miss her. We already do. Please remember with us our dear friend, Jean Hines. Thank you for that remembrance. Thank you for being a part of remembering the fine people who have been a part of NSSA over the years. The next item of business is something that is fun for me, something I look forward to each year, and that is to recognize some folks in the crowd. I guess I'm not smart enough to know that that's the most dangerous part of any kind of a position to be in, is to recognize people in the crowd, because invariably I will miss someone. And everybody here is important, so I'm going to miss somebody, obviously, but I'm going to name a few folks I would like to recognize. If I leave someone out, may you accept my apology in advance. First, let's meet our good friends from the American Quarter Horse Association, Dan Fick and Alex Ross. If you'll stand. Right here. Thank you. From the Coca-Cola Company, please welcome George Barkley and Charlie Templeton. And from Coca-Cola of Salisbury, let's meet Bill Chandler, Dennis Felker, Ronnie Eisenhower, Sandy McDonald, Wayne Mullis, Don Peeler, Bruce South, Derry Steedley, and Barry Thomas. Would you all stand, please? Are you here? Over here. We'll wait just a moment as the Southern Railroad has its say. Here they go. Please welcome our dear friends from F&M Bank, Paul Fisher and Dan Williams. I saw Paul and Dan earlier. There they are. No representative was able to be with us tonight, but our thanks to Miller Brewing Company. Give them a hand too. They're nice folks. Owens Corning Industrial Products of North Carolina sends us David Herring and David Simmons. Let's thank Philip Morris USA for sponsoring NSSA. Again, they could not send a representative tonight, but Philip Morris has been so much a part of what we did. They sponsored that great party last night. Let's hear it for Philip Morris. The Sherry Group Incorporated, represented by Stephanie Reddish, Greg Sherry, and Stuart Valentine. Are you here? There they are. The Silver Eagle Distributors, Anheuser-Busch and its representative, Dan Archer, I saw a little earlier, John Lipscomb, and Ken Parr. There's Dan. Our thanks, as usual, to the Sporting Goods Manufacturers Association, the SGMA, and its representatives, Carol Fetter, Mike May, and John Riddle. Where are you? At 10%. We have some other special guests to meet at this time. We have some folks who are really good for NSSA, good for Salisbury. We're glad to have them around. Ben Abrams, retired from Stars and Stripes. Ben. You get a chance to meet him a little bit later, but let's say hello to Marv Albert from NBC. Brother to Dick Enberg and some of Dick's family members, Dennis Enberg. Where's the Enberg family? Derek Mills of the Powerade Athletic Club. Derek. Billy Packer with CBS Sports. Billy's right in front of me, I think. Ben Sutton with ISP Radio Network. Ben? Of course, we'd like to welcome all of our national board who is with us tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, I think we have the largest group we've ever had before. Now, I'm going to ask all of them to stand. I'll call their names one at a time and ask them to stand up, be recognized. But let's hold our applause till we get all of them on the floor, and you'll see who makes all of this possible for us. We begin with President Charlie McAlexander. Over here, Charlie, stand up. Stay on your feet, Charlie. Now, Edwin Pope was here earlier and had to leave, but Edwin was here tonight, or earlier today. Chris Tunis is here, I know. I've seen Chris several times. Chris is second vice president. Immediate past president, Bill Brill. Where's Bill? He's in Durham. He left. Doug Logan is here. He's the chairman of the board. Chairman of AIPS, Furman Bisher. Furman, where are you? Right, go ahead and stand up, Furman. Stay up with us. Bob Paul was not able to be with us tonight, but all of us are used to seeing him around. Barbara Lockhart, Secretary-Treasurer from Salisbury. Back here, stand up, Barbara. Nobody's going to believe this, but Barbara says she's shy. Our next person could not be with us tonight, but he did send a message. Chris Berman, who has been a three-time winner of the National Award, says, all of you have a good time, and he misses being with you tonight, but he wants to send a special congratulations to Bob Costas. That's class, folks. Thanks to Chris Berman. One of our directors, Mike Downey, I talked to a little earlier. Mike, where are you? Right in front of me. Another director, Ron Green. Stay up. Bob Hamill is real close to me here. He's right up front. We won't let him sing tonight, but Mac McDonald is here too. Saw Kevin O'Keefe a little earlier. Where's Kevin? There he is over here. Another director, John Pruitt. Where's John? Back over here. Another one of our directors, Rick Reilly. Rick, if you'll stand up with us. I believe Pat Scanlon's over here. Brad Sham was unable to be with us tonight, but George Vessey's here. He's back over here in the corner. George? And Bob Verdi is here. Bob, where are you? Bob's back here with George. Ladies and gentlemen, these folks make it possible for you. Let's hear a really good round of applause for them. We also want to thank all of those people who sit on the Hall of Fame Board of Directors, the officers and directors of the National Board, obviously, whom we've just met, the local NSSA committee. Special word of thanks goes to John Stegall, who served this year as program director, program chairman. John, where are you? Back over here. To Claude Hampton, who's our executive director. Many of you may not know this, but Claude has given so much to NSSA that you will never know of his contributions. He's given his time, his energy, and his retirement to making a success of NSSA. So let's hear it for Claude Hampton. And it is my pleasure, on behalf of all of you, to thank the next person. I want to especially thank Barbara Lockhart, who brings her boundless energy and abilities to her job as program coordinator. Thank you, Barbara, from all of us. And I know I left out somebody, so I'll just say thanks to all of you for being here. It's nice to have you in Salisbury. I hope you have had an absolutely fabulous time in Salisbury. We tried to make it a good weekend for you. This is Southern hospitality at its best, I think. Thank you. Just suffice it to say that we're glad to be a part of your lives, and thanks for letting us be a part of your lives, and thanks for being a part of ours. I'm always pleased to have the honor of introducing our mayor to you to add her welcome to Salisbury. Margaret Klutz has served as our mayor during some exciting times, and this weekend is one of the highlights of her year. We're proud of her. We're proud of her accomplishments in Salisbury. I am proud to call her my dear friend, and I had the very distinct honor and pleasure of dining with her tonight. So at this time, may I introduce you to Mayor Margaret Klutz.
Thank you, Carl. I would just like to ditto all of the greetings and warm welcomes and congratulations Carl has offered each of you. We are indeed privileged to be the host city for the National Sportscasters and Sportswriters Association Awards event. You make us proud throughout the entire year, and you make us very proud to be your host for these few days that you are here. At this time, I would like to read the following proclamation that was adopted at our City Council. And being folks that are used to challenges, this is going to be a challenge because I've got to read it from the program. And as some friends of mine, their child said, the old gray mare, she ain't what she used to be. Well, her eyes are definitely not what they used to be. Whereas Salisbury, North Carolina continues to be proud of being the home of the National Sportscasters and Sportswriters Association and its Hall of Fame, and whereas this great professional organization has shared with this community for more than 28 years the opportunity to honor the nation's most outstanding sportswriters and sportscasters, and whereas the contributions made by these great journalists are innumerable by the impact of their outstanding coverage of the sports events of the world, and whereas it gives us great pleasure to individually honor those persons who have reached the peak of their professional competence and have earned the respect of all the citizens of this great country as well as the world. Now therefore I, Margaret H. Klutz, Mayor of the City of Salisbury, do hereby proclaim April 27th through the 29th, 1996 as National Sportscasters and Sportswriters Days in Salisbury, and commend the observance to all its citizens, the second day of April, 1996. Again, welcome. We're proud to have you here, and also thank you for all those local folks who have rolled out the red carpet. We are proud to have you in Salisbury.
Several years ago, Coca-Cola became a corporate sponsor to NSSA. And that's been a proud alliance that we have had ever since. We, of course, were thrilled to have the affiliation with such a great company. And we were equally excited about the many folks who would be spending time with us here in Salisbury on behalf of Coca-Cola. One of those people has become a close friend to many of us here in Salisbury, and I am very proud to introduce to you my friend Charlie Templeton, who last year made his debut on the stage to make his first ever presentation of the Powerade winners from a new competition called the Powerade Sports Story of the Year. The awards are to be given annually to a writer and a caster, adjudged winners by a select NSSA committee. Now here's Charlie Templeton to tell you more about the competition and the winners for 1995. Charlie Templeton.
Carl, I didn't want you to think I was rude when I didn't stand up, but I'm the same size standing up as I'm sitting down, so what's the point? I also was very, very pleased to learn that we were not going to have to endure the Max singing again tonight. Now, if you could give me the same assurance that Riley won't dance, I would be a happy man. Of course, in this room, I don't think he could get away with it anyway. This is the second year of the Powerade Awards. We're very happy to be making that a part of our sponsorship. And let me stop here and say there is one large sector of the population that was not recognized tonight, and that's our fine hosts and hosts of the community, and they deserve the applause. We had more than double the number of entries this year from last year, and I think this program is starting to take steam. Those of you who were here last year heard me tell a little story about the winner, Jerry Green, who came up to me right before the awards and said, you know, I really need this money because I got a daughter that's getting married. So we thought that was great. Well, he stopped me again tonight and said, you know, family's been married for a year now, got a grandson on the way. And I said, okay, Jerry, another submission next year? Who knows? We'll see what happens. So you got competition out there already for you. And I'm sure that you enter for the love of the competition as opposed to the $1,000 that it brings. Nobody's interested in that at all, except for Jerry. I'd like to, it's already been introduced, but I'd like to ask Derek Mills from our Powerade Athletic Club to come up here and help me present these awards. 1996, Atlanta Olympic Games, the 400 meters, one of the hottest contested races that will be on the schedule. 3 American jerseys will cross the finish line very quickly, and this gentleman will be one of those 3. And he tells me that he will be competition to be #1 by the time we get to that part of the schedule. This is the guy that we would like our athletes to be like. He's a true gentleman, and I hope you've all had a chance to meet him since he's been here. He's very bashful, as you can see. Yeah. Our first winner tonight is in the Sportscaster category, and the winner is Bruce Cunningham, a sports director of WBFF TV in Baltimore. Today's sports world, as you know, we see many stories, hear many stories about what's wrong with athletics and what's wrong with the athletes. And those are the stories I don't have to relate to you because you live them every day. And it's very refreshing to see one that is a very positive story. And this is such a story that Bruce did. He gave us an update and a profile on someone who is very familiar to sports fans, on Lenny Moore, the Football Hall of Famer. So if we could roll that tape now, you can see Bruce's piece on Lenny Moore.
During the 1950s and 60s, the Baltimore Colts were one of the best teams in the NFL.
And one of the main reasons was legendary running back Lenny Moore. As Bruce Cunningham reports in tonight's cover story, although Moore left the football field long ago, he is still a hero, the right kind of hero.
He came out of Penn State in 1956 and quickly became one of the most potent offensive weapons in NFL history. While Johnny Unitas was the man most identified with the Baltimore Colts' late 50s offensive attack, Lenny Moore was the man, the go-to guy. He could run, he could catch, he could return kicks and punts. He was nothing short of spectacular throughout his 12-year career. And in 1975, he entered the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Suffice to say that Lenny Moore is one of the all-time greats in the NFL. He could be making a lot of money on the card show circuit, but instead he spends a lot of his time in places like this.
Because we hope that what we want to try to instill in you is some of those ingredients that's going to help you develop as fully as you can positively develop.
Now, at age 61, Lenny Moore is a program services specialist with the Maryland Department of Youth Services. Today, he's working with the male leadership class at Baltimore's Highlandtown Middle School.
You may ask me the question, why you do this? Why do I do this? Because I come from this. Because we, having experienced it, have gone through what you're going through. And all we're doing is just dropping down on you some of the things that we experience and watching you do some of the things that you do. It's just being involved where we have to be involved. We're going to take their hand, put their hand in the hand of wherever that's going to hopefully influence their lives and make their lives better. We're giving you the tools to work with, or trying to enlighten you on some of the tools that you need.
This is the way Lenny Moore spends his days, and it's been that way since he came to Baltimore nearly 40 years ago. Even while still an active player, you could find him helping kids in a school, in a home, or even in the streets. And even though he hasn't played in 28 years, Moore is still able to use his superstar status to reach these kids.
It was long before your time when he was a ball player. Do you know about Lenny Moore?
Mm-hmm.
What do you know about him as a player?
I know he was a good player. He was one of the best running backs in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Hall of Fame?
Yep.
What does that mean to you?
That, he's a good player as he is a good person.
Every athlete works supremely to get this. That's that World's Championship ring. This is a big bonus when you're selected into something like what your profession is, that you are selected in that select few that get into the Hall of Fame. You know what I came to find out? There's no life in these. And that's the shocking truth. There's no life in these at all.
He's a positive role model, and he just don't want me to be another statistic on the street or nothing like that. That he care about us, and he helped us out a lot.
A kid can look at you, Bruce, and look at me, and tell if we're for real. And with Mr. Lenny Moore, he's for real. We'll sit down and we'll talk sometime about it. See where your plan is, where your head is, where you're going, and then we'll deal with it from there.
When you see Lenny Moore work with kids, you get the feeling that his NFL fame was almost incidental, that football was merely part of the journey toward finding his true purpose in life.
Go over your life, man. Go over your life. What do you know about your life? And if you know about your life and then you look at all these kids, man, and you see yourself all over again, in these plights, and then we're trying to get them to understand why, and you're looking for hope. They're looking for hope in a hopeless situation, primarily. Man, this is a privilege for me to do what I'm doing. This is a privilege.
If you were able to ask many generations of Baltimore kids that Lenny Moore helped turn around, they might say the privilege was all theirs. In Baltimore, Bruce Cunningham, Fox 45, News at 10.
I'll take that. Yeah, I know you will. How are you going to spend that, Mrs. Cunningham? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I guess. We anticipated that this might happen, but just not this quickly. We had a virtual tie in the writer category, which is something we should have anticipated, but it did happen this year in the second year. The first part of that tie is Mike Eisenbath from St. Louis. Mike made a very good decision, and like many people who are winning things in sports today, he decided to go take his family to Disney World. So he's not with us tonight, but he did win in a tie, and he's also the state winner from Missouri this year. The second winner is Ron Pollock from Pro Football Weekly. And in his job, that particular job, he has the opportunity again to see the good side, bad side story of sports and people in sports. His piece called Reach Out and Touch Someone focused on 11 good guy stories of NFL players who are making difference in their communities. And they were very touching. Now, this is not the kind of fodder that you would find in books about sports. It's just guys doing good things that just don't get the kind of credit that they do. And he focused very well on that. So, without any further ado, Ron Pollock. He's over here somewhere. There he is. Again, I won't take much more time. I really do appreciate this opportunity. I look forward to seeing those of you who are going to be there during the Olympic Games in Atlanta. My time clock says 101 days. That's one day after the games are over, which is the most special day for me and the guys from NBC too. I'm sure will be glad to see that. For those of you in this room, and there are precious few, I think, who have not seen me about opening and closing ceremonies tickets, when you come to Atlanta, look me up and I'll help you find the nearest Ticketmaster outlet. Thank you very much.
We're going to begin the state awards at this time, so I'm going to ask all of the sportscasters to line up according to your state. That means that Tim from Wisconsin is going to be at the end of the line. We need Alaska and Alabama, etc., up front. And I've got a couple of gentlemen over here who are going to help you line up. We've got a little bit of a crowded position over here in the corner, so they're going to line you up out the door. But believe me, we'll bring you back in to get your award. So will all the sportscasters please come over here and line up according to your state. Sure. Just like my students, first thing that happens when I tell them to move is the mouth moves first. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have on a couple of occasions had the opportunity to introduce the state winners. But for the last few years, we've had a good friend come up and do this for us. Doug Logan returns tonight to assist in the introductions of our state winners. Doug has served as president of NSSA and remains on the board of directors. For the past 16 years, Doug has served as the voice of the Syracuse University football and men's basketball teams. They were number 2 this year. And for 12 years, he has worked as the sports director and anchor at WIXT TV in East Syracuse. He has presented the state winners for the last 3 years and has had a great time getting to know many of his colleagues around the nation. Tonight, I'm sure, is no exception. Doug, come on up here and tell us what you've learned about the Casters this year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carl. May I begin by passing along, on behalf of our state winners, heartiest congratulations to Hall of Fame inductees Dick Enberg and Dan Jenkins, and to our national winners Bob Costas and Rick Reilly. You mean so much to us. We're honored to know you, and we're very proud to share with you the same profession. And because of the quality of your work, honoring you tonight is not only fitting, but it's absolutely necessary. Congratulations. Now I'd like to ask National Sportscaster of the Year, Bob Costas, if you'd please come forward to help us with the awards ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, the hard work, the dedication, and the professionalism of our honorees have earned them distinction from their peers. So let's recognize those who have been voted to be the very best in the business. Introducing the NSSA Sportscasters of the Year. Starting with Alabama, 3 years with WAFF-TV in Huntsville. Sports director was a 1995 Mid-South Emmy nominee and 2-time Associated Press Sportscaster of the Year. First-time winner, Darryl Green. From Alaska, in his 2nd year with KTVA-TV Anchorage, covering local sports on TV and radio, specializing in hockey and sled dog racing. Alaska Press Club voted him best sports coverage the last 5 years. First-time winner, Ted Emery. Out of Arkansas, 32 years with KATV in Little Rock. Sports director who serves as play-by-play announcer for the Arkansas Razorbacks, football and basketball. He hosts 3 daily TV shows as well as the coaches' shows. A 6-time winner, Paul Eels. From Connecticut, 7 years with Hartford's WTIC, the Fox affiliate, sports director covering the Hartford Whalers, the Yukon Huskies men's and women's basketball teams, the Greater Hartford Open, and Volvo Tennis. A 2-time winner, Rich Capola. From Florida, 15 years with WFLA-TV Tampa, sports director and voice of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for 17 seasons. He covers the Lightning and the Rowdies and commentates on the unlimited hydroplanes and offshore powerboats, seen on ESPN. Sports director of WMTX Radio, 3-time winner Dick Crippen. Out of Georgia, 21 years broadcasting the Atlanta Braves baseball on WTBS and WSB in the Braves radio network. He has followed the Braves to the World Series 3 of the last 5 years, winning the championship last fall. He's also broadcast NBA basketball, Big Ten, and SEC sports, and he's a 9-time winner here, Pete Van Weren. Out of Idaho, 29 years with the Idaho Network in Moscow, sportscaster covering the Idaho Vandals for football and basketball, a 29-time winner, Bob Curtis. From Illinois, 11 years with WLS-TV Chicago, sports reporter covering the Cubs, Sox, Bears, and Blackhawks. His pride and joy, the weekly analysis of the Bears when he gets out his chalkboard and becomes Professor Palmer, a veteran of 30 years in radio and TV in Chicago and a 7-time winner, Brad Palmer. From Kansas, 12 years with the Kansas Jayhawks Network in Lawrence, broadcasting University of Kansas football and basketball play-by-play. Followed the NCAA Women's Final Four. Hosts daily sportscast on KMBZ Kansas City. A 7-time winner, Bob Davis. From Maryland, 17th year with WMAR-TV Baltimore, sports director and anchor. For 8 years, TV's voice of the Baltimore Orioles. Covered the return to the NFL with Baltimore's franchise, gearing up for 7 live hours with the Preakness next month. The 2-time winner, Scott Garceau. From Mississippi, 25 years with the Ole Miss Radio Network, Oxford. Color commentator for the Rebels in football and basketball, and a 3-time winner here, Stan Sandroni. From Montana, 3 years with the Northern Sports Network, Billings. Sports director who produces a daily sports show for 20 radio stations, and last year alone announced over 100 high school and college games. 4-time winner, Rocky Erickson. From Nebraska, 14 years with KFOR Radio Lincoln, sports director and host of the Tom Osborne Call-In Show, play-by-play voice of the Nebraska Wesleyan basketball. He covers high school football and basketball. A 2-time winner, Chuck Stevens. From New Hampshire, 30 years with WKXL Radio Concord, president and general manager in his 35th year as play-by-play announcer of hockey and his 18th season with the University of New Hampshire Wildcats. A 3-time winner, Dick Osborne. From New Jersey, general manager of the Comcast Network. He forged the new television network channel after covering the Final Four and the New Jersey State Basketball Championships. 9-time winner, Pat Scanlon. From New York, 10 years with News 12 on Long Island, sports director and anchor who is TV's longest-running sportscaster, beginning in 1946. He's broadcast play-by-play of championships in all 4 major sports. This July, he'll be putting out a book on his adventures in sports entitled, "It's Not Who Won or Lost the Game, It's How You Sold the Beer." And make sure you see him for a complimentary copy of this book. The most recent inductee into the broadcasting wing of the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, 3-time winner, Bob Wolf. From the great state of North Carolina, 6 years with the International Sports Properties, Winston-Salem, vice president of network operations and voice of the Wake Forest Demon Deacons for football and basketball. He's called ACC championships in '95 and '96. 2-time winner, Mac McDonald. Thanks, John. From North Dakota, 3 years with KMAV Mayville. General manager and sports director, broadcasting 175 games last year for high school and college, football, basketball, and baseball. 2-time winner, Dan Keating. South Dakota, 12 years with KTOQ Rapid City, sports director who works South Dakota high school sports, CBA basketball and IBA basketball. He also covers the Minnesota Twins and the Colorado Rockies in baseball. Please welcome 6-time winner Bob Laskowski. From Tennessee, 16 years with WBIR-TV Knoxville. Sports director and anchor, covers the SEC, providing play-by-play for Jefferson Pilot for football and basketball, as well as television play-by-play for the Tennessee Volunteers in basketball. 2-time winner, Bob Kessling. From Utah, 5 years with KISN Radio Salt Lake City, play-by-play announcer for the Salt Lake City Buzz, the AAA affiliate for the Minnesota Twins. Co-host of the pregame, halftime, and postgame shows on the Utah Jazz Radio Network, voice of the station's high school coverage, and a talk show host. First-time winner, Steve Klauke. From Vermont, 7 years with WCAX-TV Burlington, sports director covering the University of Vermont hockey. He hosts a 12-minute nightly sportscast. First-time winner, J.J. Chaffee. From Virginia, 9th year with the Virginia Tech Sports Network in Blacksburg, play-by-play announcer and television host. He covered the Hokies to an NIT championship in basketball and a Big East Conference and Sugar Bowl championship in football. First-time winner, Bill Roth. Bill could not be with us. And out of Wisconsin, in his 6th year with WITI-TV Milwaukee, sports anchor and reporter covering the Packers NFL Central Division Championship, Marquette Warriors in basketball, as well as the Milwaukee Bucks. First-time winner, Tim Van Voren. Okay. How about one more hand for all of our state-winning sportscasters? Okay.
Writers, it's your turns. If we can please have you come out and stand in line, again, starting with the alphabet, starting with the A's, down to the W's. So if you'll line up out here, I've got a couple of gentlemen to help you. And Rick, would you come up and help us give these out? Let us get up.
Yes, thank you, Bob.
Well, thank you, Bill. Thank you, Doug. Hi.
Hi, how are you? Thank you so much, Bob. Ready? You ready? Now let's meet our NSSA Sports Writers of the Year. From Alabama, 30 years with the Huntsville Times, sports editor and columnist covering the Crimson Tide and Auburn Tigers, and will be working the Olympics in Atlanta. A 13-time winner, John Pruitt. From Alaska, 12 years with the Anchorage Daily News, sports editor who this past year once again covered the Iditarod dog sled race, the Cotton Bowl, and the world's longest wheelchair race from Fairbanks to Anchorage, covering 367 miles. An 8-time winner, Lou Friedman. From Arkansas, 40 years with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette out of Little Rock, columnist and reporter who tracks Southeastern Conference football and professional baseball. A 13-time winner, Jim Bailey. Out of California, 11 years with the Los Angeles Times, a columnist covering Magic Johnson's return, Wayne Gretzky's trade, and getting pro football back to Los Angeles. Twice a winner when he was working for the Detroit Free Press. A 9-time winner overall, Mike Downey. From Georgia, 11 years with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. A beat writer for the Atlanta Braves, followed the Braves to their World Series championship last year and wrote his 3rd book on the team titled Bravo. First-time winner, I.J. Rosenberg. From Illinois, 28 years with the Chicago Tribune, a sports columnist covering Super Bowls, the 4 major golf tournaments, World Series, and the upcoming Olympics in Atlanta. Author of 4 books, including a bestseller titled McMahon. A 16-time winner, Bob Verdi. From Indiana, 30 years with the Bloomington Herald-Times, sports editor, past president and member of the NSSA Board of Directors, past president of the Football and Basketball Writers Association, member of the Basketball Writers Association Hall of Fame, author of 6 books, including Beyond the Brink, on the Indiana Hoosiers championship year of '87. Covering the Hoosiers in basketball and football, 16-time winner, Bob Hamill. From Kansas, 38 years with the Topeka Capital Journal. Sports editor who retired March 1st after an illustrious 40-year career covering everything. And next month, he'll receive the National Basketball Hall of Fame's Kurt Gowdy Award for lifetime service. Former president of the Basketball Writers Association and member of the Basketball Writers Hall of Fame, 15-time winner, Bob Henson. Bobby, good job. First time Bob was here in Salisbury was 30 years ago. Congratulations, Bob. From Louisiana, 16 years with the Lake Charles American Press. Sports editor, covers the LSU Tigers. Won 4 first place and 3 second place awards in the Louisiana Sportswriters Association contest. Louisiana Press Association Sports Columnist of the Year and a first-time winner here, Scooter Hobbs. From Massachusetts, 15 years with the Boston Globe, a sports columnist covering the Celtics, the Red Sox, the Patriots, the Bruins, UMass, and the Olympics. He has written 5 books, including one just out, At Fenway. A 6-time winner, Dan Shaughnessy. Out of Michigan, 32 years with the Detroit News, covering all 30 Super Bowls, as well as the Detroit Tigers, the Lions, and the Red Wings, and he writes on America's Cup. 7-time winner, Jerry Green. From Mississippi, 10 years with the Northeast Mississippi Daily Journal, sports editor who traveled with the Mississippi State Bulldogs during their great run to the Final Four. He covers Ole Miss athletics as well. 2-time winner, Gene Phelps. From Montana, 10 years with the Great Falls Tribune, assistant sports editor covering Big Sky Conference, basketball, football, minor league baseball, and professional rodeo. First-time winner, Scott Manch. From New Hampshire, 9 years with Foster's Daily Democrat, sports writer who covers the University of New Hampshire football as well as Winston Cup and IndyCar racing. Writes on high school athletics as well. First-time winner, Steve Craig. From New Mexico, 9 years with the New Mexicans, Santa Fe. Sports editor covering New Mexico Highlands University. High school track and cross country. New Mexico correspondent for Harrier Magazine, and he helps nominate and elect national winners for the Dial Award. 3-time winner, Pancho Morris. From New York, 28 years with the New York Times, a sports columnist who has worked 4 World Cups, the World Series, Olympics, loves covering international events, just returned from the Media Summit in Atlanta, and he has written a dozen books, including Coal Miner's Daughter. 11-time winner, George Vesey. From the great state of North Carolina, 26 years with the Raleigh News and Observer, assistant sports editor and columnist covering ACC basketball and football. He also writes on the Hornets, Panthers, and the Atlanta Braves. And one of his biggest thrills remains NC State's national championship in 1983, 3-time winner Carlton Tudor. From North Dakota, 23 years with Grand Forks Herald, a sports editor who won first place in the APSE Enterprise Reporting Contest. A 3-time winner here in Salisbury, Ryan Bakken. From Ohio, 10 years with the Cincinnati Enquirer, sports writer covering the Reds. He won 3rd place in the APSE Award for his feature on Bengals quarterback Jeff Blake out of East Carolina. First-time winner, John Erardi. From Oklahoma, 9 years with the Daily Oklahoman in Oklahoma City, a columnist who has worked the Final Four and the Masters. He's had the story behind 3 different Oklahoma football coaches in the last 16 months. 3-time winner, John Rhodey. From South Carolina, 12 years with the Post and Courier, Charleston. Executive sports editor who has worked the last 10 Super Bowls, Final Fours, and Masters. APSC has honored him as the National Columnist of the Year twice. A two-time winner, Ken Berger. From South Dakota, 37 years with the Rapid City Journal, sports editor, serves as manager of the paper's 5-person sports staff, covers all sports on all levels, 11-time winner, Don Lindner. Johnny, thank you. Congratulations. From Tennessee, 16 years with the Nashville Banner, sports editor who this past year has covered the Super Bowl, the Final Four, the Masters, and the Fiesta Bowl, 5-time winner, Joe Biddle. From Texas, 8 years with the San Antonio Express-News, sports columnist covering the Super Bowl, NBA Finals, Final Four, and World Series. This past year covered, most importantly, the tumbling debut of his 4.5-year-old son, Kevin Patrick. Ladies and gentlemen, 7-time winner, Kevin O'Keefe. From Vermont, 4 years with the Rutland Herald, sports editor who is winning for the 4th straight year. His assignments include Dartmouth and Middlebury Colleges, host of a TV interview show called Haley's Comet. 4-time winner, Tom Haley. From Virginia, 15 years with a Virginian pilot, sports writer who reports on the National Football League and specifically the Washington Redskins, a 5-time winner, Jim Dusabella. From West Virginia, 24 years with the Charleston Daily Mail, columnist who covers the Mountaineers and tells us he coached his son's 5th grade basketball team to a postseason championship, thus proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that writers can coach better than coaches can write. 3-time winner, Chuck Landon. And from Wisconsin, 10 years with the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Became assistant sports editor when the Milwaukee Journal and Sentinel merged in April of 1995. Writing enterprise and takeout pieces on high school sports, a 5-time winner, Cliff Crystal. Thank you, Rick Reilly, and how about another hand for all of our state-winning sports writers? On behalf of the Board of Directors, to our state winners, your charge for the year ahead is to continue to be the very best that you can be and help the NSSA be the very best that it can be. Support the SGMA Heroes Award. Spread the word of the NSSA and the Hall of Fame and the great city of Salisbury. My heartiest congratulations to you all. Thank you very much.
Our thanks again to Doug Logan, University of Syracuse. He is a man who has spent the last 2 or 3 days getting to know all of you. I know it's a lot of work for Doug, but I think he enjoys it as much as we enjoy his remarks. So again, thanks to Doug, and congratulations to all the state winners in both categories of casting and writing. Now it's time to move on to our national winners. And I'm pleased to introduce the man who will be introducing both of our national winners tonight. Well recognized and honored for his own talents as a television sportscaster, Marv Albert was named one of the primary play-by-play men for NBC's coverage of the National Basketball Association. He received critical acclaim for this work on NBC's Emmy Award-winning coverage of the 1991 NBA Finals between the Chicago Bulls and the Los Angeles Lakers. He followed up with another critically acclaimed call of the 1992 NBA Finals. He was selected in August of 1994 to be the play-by-play announcer of NBC sports coverage of the World Championships of basketball. He also called the basketball action during NBC coverage of the 1992 Summer Olympics in Barcelona. He has covered basketball, football, boxing, along with Ferdy Pacheco, hockey, and numerous Olympic games. Albert has hosted the News and Information NBC Sports Credential Update studio show, and he held the same role on the provocative, entertaining baseball pregame show, Major League Baseball, An Inside Look. Hot on his heels is his own son, Kenny, his eldest son, who is the cable TV play-by-play announcer for the Washington Capitals of the NHL. But for now, Marv is still the man. So welcome with me, sportscaster extraordinaire, Mr. Marv Albert.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Carl. That was a nice introduction until you mentioned the name Ferdy, the fight doctor, Ferdy Pacheco, who, as some of you are aware here, is a very sick man. Nice job by Rick Reilly on the introductions here, the photo ops. Excellent job. With the very sincere smile that I saw on a number of occasions. Actually, it is very nice to be here. I was here about 20 years ago here in Salisbury. It's nice to be back, although there is a good reason why I am here. I got a call several months ago from Rick Reilly, who you're all acquainted with, and he said, "Marv, do you believe in free speech?" I said, "Free speech? Of course, it's right there, what we stand for, the First Amendment. Right on the Constitution." So Rick said, "Good, you will make a free speech April 29th in Salisbury, North Carolina." First of all, let me say in introducing Bob Costas that Bob has had his ups and downs with his favorite sport over the past couple of years, as you're probably well aware of. It wasn't that long ago when the players went home, the stadiums were empty, and the vendors were out of work. And I know that we all felt cheated when the World Cup ended. I put a lot of thought into this, and I think the proper way to do this is to get the good stuff about Bob out of the way right at the start, beginning before our real digestive processes go to work. Therefore, I'd like to say that I believe that Bob Costas is simply the best studio host in the history of televised sports. I don't think that anybody before him has ever had the terrific sense of journalism, humor, and theater that Bob has. Now, it should be pointed out that the humor is a little odd, but it works in a demented sort of way. For example, Vanity Fair magazine recently asked Bob what his greatest fear was, and Bob mulled this over for a long time, thought about it, and then replied, "Marge shot in a limp green teddy." Plus, Bob is so terrifically quick on his feet. What Bob does in the studio on NFL Sundays at NBC is the equivalent of sitting at a desk in the middle of Penn Station transcribing Shakespeare's sonnets into Sanskrit with Dick Vitale screaming in his headphones and Gallagher doing a floor show smack in front of him, all this on the 24-second clock. Even Bob's mistakes are good. I can remember once back in 1985, Bob was doing the NBC baseball game of the week with Tony Kubek as his partner. There was a shot of Tommy John. The Toronto Blue Jays had just signed Tommy John, but he was kind of on a rehab assignment and only charting pitches at the time. So Bob says, "Tony, there's Tommy John, 20-game winner in both leagues for the Yankees and the Dodgers. The Blue Jays think they'll have him in the starting rotation, but not soon enough. He'll be pissing in Appleton until then." And it suddenly came to Costas, you know, what he had said. He realized, so he quickly added pitching in Appleton. And there was a pause, and then Bob said, "Come to think of it, if he stays in Appleton long enough, he'll probably do both." Thank you. Now, as good as Bob is, though, he is always under the spotlight, and unfortunately, I think the pressure of that spotlight has made Bob a very sick man. You would never know it, but this sickness kind of leaks out of him in very peculiar ways. I can remember one time Bob was doing a game in Cincinnati between the Raiders and the Bengals, and he's staying at the Westin Hotel about 10 minutes away from Riverfront Stadium. He had to be in the booth at 11 in the morning, but it seemed he got caught up watching his all-time favorite cinematic heroes, the Three Stooges. Now, some people collect great art, might be wine aficionados. The sophisticated, suave Bob Costas is a devotee of the Stooges. And so it happened that on this Sunday morning, the local channel was showing Bob's favorite Stooges episode. And this is the cinematic classic in which the Stooges bake some pies in a wooded cabin, and they set them in the window to cool. A bear keeps stealing the pies, eating them, and so the Stooges keep putting, you're familiar with this, right? They keep putting more pies up, and the bear keeps stealing those pies, and Bob at this point is naturally mesmerized. So finally, the Stooges catch on to the bear, and they chase after him, but alas, as the film reaches its triumphant climax, the bear jumps in the car, pulls away, so Bob is a half hour late, and he still won't go because he has to watch the very last moment, his favorite Stooges moment of all time. As the bear comes to the end of the driveway in the car with the Stooges chasing after him, he rolls down the window, sticks out his huge furry arm to signal a left turn before pulling out into the highway, and there is no humanly way that Bob can pass on this moment. And now Bob madly races to Riverfront. He's about 45 minutes late. The producer, a crusty veteran by the name of George Finkel, some of you in the room may be familiar with George, and he is beside himself with great anger, and he screams, "Costas, where have you been?" And Bob, with perfect aplomb, says, "George, the Three Stooges were on." And Finkel roars, "Let me get this straight. You were late to a nationally televised broadcast because the Three Stooges were on." And Bob says to George Finkel, quite matter-of-factly, "But George, it was the one where the bear signals a left turn." Bob recalls this very well, which is indeed very sad. I say, you're right, you're right. Bob, I understand, no problem. Now, I've always hoped that some doctors and nurses could cure Bob of his one truly annoying habit, and that is his obsession with baseball realignment. It does not matter if you're talking about the Renaissance or the mating ritual of African wild beasts or perhaps your Reuben sandwich on rye. Bob will somehow get around to baseball realignment. He'll say, "I'm sorry, but 4-team divisions are immoral, wild card teams are a communist plot," and it goes on and on. It's like you can ask Bob how long his layover is, and he'll answer, "How can I worry about airline transportation when our national pastime is on the verge of collapse?" I fully expect Bob to come up here tonight and go, "Thank you, but I cannot in good conscience accept this award as long as the California Angels remain a viable playoff contender." 3 words, Bob: triple the therapy. But I would like to introduce to you this year's Emmy Award winner, this year's primetime NBC Olympic host, and this year's National Sportscaster of the Year, my friend Bob Costas.
Rick was very helpful. Very nice.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. If Marv was a little off his game this weekend on NBC, it was obviously because he was spending most of his time working on his fine speech. Very, very nice, Marv, and you know, it's an honor to receive an award from Marv Albert, although quite frankly I was hoping for Matt Gukas, but we'll settle here. There are many reasons why it's great to come to Salisbury. There's a tremendous feel here. There's something truly unique about it. I have a warm spot in my heart for everything this represents, but really, the number one reason why it's so wonderful to come to Salisbury is that each of us, as you know, receives an invaluable gift pack. This really compensates you for the entire cost of the trip, because there are so many indispensable items in this bag, and there's a synthesis here. They're all perfectly interrelated. You get the Lady Bic shaver, you get the 3 golf balls. You know, there's a theme to the whole thing. And this year, I was especially impressed by this item. And it would be, wait a minute, oh, here we go. It would, of course, be the Rusty Wallace Cinnamon Raisin Jumbo Bagels. Now, Marv, you're a boy from New York, and I don't know about you, but when I think bagels, I think NASCAR. Personally, I can't wait till next year for the Dale Earnhardt Knish and the Richard Petty gefilte fish. Lovely, lovely items all. It is a great honor, truly, to receive this award from Marv Albert. The Alberts, as you know, are a broadcasting dynasty. They're sort of the Baldwin brothers of the booth. Steve, Al, Marv, now son Kenny on Fox. But you don't really hear enough about Abe Albert, the slow uncle who broadcasts indoor lacrosse. I really don't think he's received sufficient exposure. It's great, too, to share the stage with Rick Reilly, perennial here, apparently. And, you know, there are so many great sports writers. But the thing that clinched it this year for Rick was his groundbreaking expose in SI for Kids, Wrestling is Fake and Santa is Dead. It's hard-hitting material. It's somewhat disillusioning, but somebody has to do it. And that's what makes him the journalist that he is. I'm not exactly sure what it was that clinched it for me. Perhaps working with Euchre. The man who is fond of telling the story of how he was signed to a professional baseball contract. The then Milwaukee Braves went to young Bob Euchre's home, sat at the kitchen table with Euchre and his parents, and said, "We'd like to sign your son for $5,000. And Euchre's father said, "This family doesn't have that kind of money." I've been lucky enough to be here before, and I realize that it's not 100% overlap in terms of the people who are here from year to year, but I don't want to bore those who have been here in the past, I mean any more than I bore you on weekends, with my feelings about the craft, but you know how sincere they are, and the connection to the great people who have done this work over the years, and my feeling for it and trying to do it as well as we all possibly can. So that's a given, and my appreciation, I hope, is understood as a given. So I will just leave you with a story because it's connected to Marv Albert, and I don't think it proves much of anything, except this is a strange business that can lead to strange experiences. In 1991, the first year that NBC had the NBA Finals, the Bulls were playing the Lakers. This is the first of the 3 straight championships for the Bulls, and Magic Johnson's final year, as it turned out, until the comeback this year. And they split the first 2 games in Chicago, and they play Game 3 on a Friday night at the Forum in Los Angeles. It goes overtime, the Bulls win. Game 4 is scheduled for Sunday night, also in LA. But the Ice-Capades are booked into the Forum on Saturday night. So the teams can't practice there. And they have to go to Inglewood High School, some distance away to work out on Saturday afternoon. So Marv and I go over there to watch the workout, talk to some of the players, see if anybody's hurt, try and get some inside information. I'm hosting the pregame. Marv is doing the play-by-play, of course. And it's about time to leave, and Marv says, come on, let's go. And I say, wait a minute, just a second. I need to talk to Phil Jackson for just a minute. Why don't you get the car, pull it around front, I'll meet you out in front. So Marv goes to get the car. There's a little poetic license here, Marv. Marv goes to get the car and pull it around the front, and I talk to Jackson for a minute, and then I walk out in front of Inglewood High School. Now it's June, it's the NBA Finals, we're in Los Angeles, it's midday on a Saturday, it's about 85 degrees, the sun is baking down, and I sit down at the curb on a bus bench, and I wait for Marv, and I'm sitting there not 10 seconds, when a guy who in a less politically correct era would be referred to as a bum or a hobo comes ambling up, and he is dressed, despite the balmy climes, in the fashion of street people. He has like 5 layers of clothing on. He's got a top coat and a tattered sports jacket and a cardigan sweater of some kind and a shirt with a t-shirt beneath that, and he's wearing an LA Dodgers cap, and the LA insignia is black with grime, and he's got muddy sneakers with no laces and about a 5-day stubble of beard, and he sits down at the other end of the bus bench, and I kind of notice him out of the corner of my eye, and I resume looking around the corner for Marv to pull up, and all of a sudden I hear, "So Bob, you think the Lakers can do it?" And I look over at the guy and I say, well, you know, it's tough to hold Jordan in check, but they're home, yeah, they might do it. And I'm looking for Marv, and a few more seconds go by, and he says, "So, you live in New York, huh?" And I said, well, actually, I do a lot of work in New York, but I live in St. Louis. And then the guy says, "So help me, St. Louis, huh? Are they going to put a Lord & Taylor in that new Galleria there?" Now, that might be the single most incongruous thing that any human being has ever said to me. At that moment, Marv pulls up, honks the horn. Wait a minute. Obviously, I have to interview this guy now and find out what the story is. You know, I have my own theories. I'm thinking perhaps he's considering relocating to the Midwest, like to select a city that has fashionable boutiques. But I want to get his side of it, so I talked to him, and it turns out that he's a well-read man, a literate man, a little bit down on his luck temporarily, but each day, by hook or by crook, he gets himself a copy of the LA Times. And just about a week prior to that, there was a story in the business section of the LA Times about how local economies around the country were getting a little bit of a boost from the building of these malls and gallerias, construction jobs at the outset, then service jobs once they open. And apparently, he tucked away this little bit of information just on the off chance that he would bump into someone whom he recognized from national television who happened to be from St. Louis, and then he would have it kind of as a conversational icebreaker. So with that in mind, I want all of you to consider the opportunities that this profession makes available to you, the chance to broaden your horizons. I will get off here because Marv is coming back, and I'm sure he has equally power-packed material to introduce Rick Reilly, and then we'll pay tribute to 2 of the best who have ever graced this profession. Dan Jenkins, who continues to do it his way. There's never been anybody funnier as a sports writer, and a guy with a more genuinely original voice. You know it's Dan Jenkins 1 paragraph in. And in the case of my colleague, Dick Enberg, it is obvious what a great, great broadcaster he is, on the short list of the very best who have ever done this. But not everyone who is as prominent as Dick has been is as gracious and as helpful and as genuinely supportive to other people in the business and others when they come along. When I was first starting out, petrified by being in the company of people of this standing. I don't know how old I look now, but when I was 27 years old and started at NBC, Don Ohlmeyer called me into his office and he said, "You know, you look like you're 14 years old. How much older do you think you'd look if you grew a beard?" And I said, "Oh, 5 years at least." And he said, "5 years, really?" And I said, "Yeah, because that's how long it would take to grow it." And under those circumstances, you know, it was nice to have somebody figuratively put their arm around your shoulder and show that they were rooting for you. And Dick Enberg does that to everybody in this business that he comes into contact with, and I'll never forget that and always be appreciative of it. So to Dan and to Dick, congratulations, and I give you once again either Carl to introduce Marv or just Marv. Thank you very, very much.
I don't know, Bob, that Los Angeles story gets better and better every time I hear it. And changes. It's enough.
Wait.
What?
I actually should have mentioned this, because who knows when the opportunity will present itself. And Marv is probably too modest, but of all the great moments that Marv has had, the single greatest occurred 3 or 4 years ago during the playoffs, the Bulls and Knicks at Madison Square Garden, a Saturday afternoon game. We go to a commercial, we come out of the commercial, and the producer puts up a bumper shot. Outside, perfectly framed, outside Madison Square Garden, 33rd Street, there's a bulldog. A bulldog is sitting on the sidewalk, and framed over the bulldog's head is the marquee. Today, Knicks Bulls, Game 4, 1 p.m. tip-off. The bulldog is wearing a hat, a bow tie, and there is a cigarette dangling from the bulldog's lips. This scene is up on the screen for 5 or 6 seconds. Now we come back inside. Marv is at the mic with Mike Fratello. He lets a few seconds go by so this can sink in on the audience, and then he says, Mike, always so troubling when a dog smokes. And who could disagree? Marv Albert.
Bob, if when Rick or Dick or Dan are talking, if any other stories occur to you along the way, just feel free to, come on up. Before we get to our next honoree, the Sportswriter of the Year, I have had my staff put together what I feel are some of the classic moments in sportscasting history. Check out the monitors.
I'm Ralph Garner, along with Tim, what's your last name?
McCarver.
Tim McCarver.
Drive deep to right center field. Barfield going back. It is gone. No, he caught it, Larry.
Well, it looks as if Alfred the Butler has placed some heaping portions in front of Batman and Robin in recent months. Boy wonder, and the Cape Crusader filling out nicely.
Ramirez struck out swimming. Yeah, in California, everybody is.
And I think Curly of the Three Stooges would have summed up this series by saying, wow. Well, that'll do it for tonight. Again, our final score is the Milwaukee Brewers 4 and the Orioles 1.
Judy Tenuta's with us tonight. Judy, welcome.
Oh, thanks, Tim, you hot stud puppet!
I take it you're a fan of ball players.
That's right. I love the way I like their tight pants and the way they spit. Yes! Oh, look at that! He's out like a common dog.
Here it is. There goes a runner. A line drive out. The pitcher's game is over. Cubs win. What a lucky break. The good Lord wants the Cubs to win.
Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to New York Yankee Baseball. I'm Bill. Wait a minute.
And these guys are very close. They spar together and they work together a lot. And the mouthpiece now out, and it falls right into my bag here at Press Row. And my bag is filled with blood.
Everything now coming into the ring. Oh, cups of ice, all kind of, I hope no, oh, big, solid cup of ice just landed in my lap. Ouch.
7 seconds left. Pressure's got to be put on. A steal. It's it! Holy God! Holy God! Holy God! I don't believe it! Dennis Calby, right? Holy Dennis Calby!
Look at this crowd. This is horrible.
I agree.
You got to make the crowd noise tonight.
The little guard, Obradovich. Now quickly to the big guy, and now to the lefty. And he lost the ball, but it's picked up in there. Now to the little fella. Oh, boy, I'm having trouble with the name.
And during a Bruins telecast of the Boston Garden, an unwelcome visitor made his presence felt.
So there are some of the classic moments, a little wild and wacky style. I would like to say that this is the best speaking engagement for me in a while. One of the reasons I'm so delighted to be here in Salisbury. The last one that I did was a dinner for the New York chapter of cable television installers, and there was no specific time for the dinner, but they told me be there from noon to 5. So I'm very appreciative to be here tonight. Personally, I have no idea why we are awarding Rick Reilly anything tonight. To my way of thinking, this man already has the easiest and the cushiest job in America. Now, here are some of the things that Rick has done just in the last year and a half. He's gone to Switzerland to write about golf. He's gone to Thailand to write about golf. He's played golf with President Clinton. He has been on helicopters, yachts, and sailboats with golfer Greg Norman. He's gone to South Africa to, if you believe this, to work on the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. He's gone to Indonesia to write about golf, gone to Australia to do stories on golf, spent a week trying to par the 17th hole at St. Andrews, which he did on the 32nd try. He took 4 months off to write a comic golf novel, which he has blackmailed me into not only holding up, but this is awful. Not the book, not the book. It's called Missing Links, at your bookstore soon. I'm told May 17th, is that correct? Right, all right. Meanwhile, I have spent most of the last year and a half either in Buffalo with Paul McGuire or in Indiana with Matt Gukas. As usual, Rick messed up most of this stuff. Not all of it, but a good portion. Take, for instance, the President Clinton story. Now, at the time he went, there had been 3 or 4 consecutive attacks on the White House. You remember that. The single-engined Cessna that crashed into the south side of the White House. The man in the trench coat had fired at the north end through the fence with an automatic weapon, and then almost immediately after that, a man jumped the fence and sprinted toward the White House before he was apprehended. So on the heels of all this arrives our man Rick. Normally, getting into the White House through proper channels is a very difficult process. But on this particular week, the security was doubly tight. The security agents and police were extra paranoid. Still, Rick wound the very tight security checks. He wound right through it, the continual check-in and rechecking of ID, and he arrives in the Washington room, which is the waiting room of the White House, where he greeted a half-dozen grim-faced Secret Service men, SWAT team officers, and police captains. And one of them goes up to Rick, very politely said, "Find it all right, Mr. Reilly?" Rick said, "Oh, it was easy. We just hopped the fence like everyone else." They were not amused. Rick and I became friends because we did a book together, book entitled I'd Love To, But I Have a Game, which was supposed to be about me, but mostly ended up being a collection of stories that Rick had saved up. I wanted to write about my exciting time in the French Foreign Legion. He wanted to include every hilarious Al Geiberger anecdote that he knew. Now, I wanted to write about perhaps the 1970 New York Knicks championship season, but that ended up being mostly a dissertation on Rick's favorite bars in the East Village of New York. So I finally asked if perhaps we could at least include a picture of my mother. He said yes, but only if there is a sequel. On a serious note, as you all know, Rick is a brilliant writer with the right touch due to his uncanny insights and humorous takes on the world in general. And Rick is now a golf essayist on NBC, and I'm sure he'll end up being very fine at it, but his start in network television did have its moments. It actually dealt with an autobiography regarding an athlete that I think we can all respect and admire, Oklahoma linebacker Brian Bosworth. And Rick did a lot of TV work promoting this book. In this book, Rick had Mr. Bosworth describing some of the wonderful aspects of college life at Oklahoma, up to and including his 51 speeding tickets that he was never made to pay, under-the-table graft and gifts from boosters and teammates firing machine guns off balconies. And Rick, I guess, was on the book tour promoting this particular tome. But he's a great guy. He is the 1995 National Sportswriter of the Year, a wonderful writer and a good friend, Rick Reilly. Rick.
Punchlines on it?
Yeah, it is. Thank you. Thank you, Marv. Well, I'm exhausted since I wrote most of those jokes for both those speeches, so. I pretty much have shot my wad, so thanks very much. Marv making fun of golf is amazing to me because Marv is the single worst golfer in America. Marv once played in a pro-am with Nancy Lopez. I don't know if you ever know this, and it was one of these Scotch twosomes, you know, where there's one ball, two players, and it was Marv and Nancy, and off Nancy drove it about 250 yards, first hole, right down the middle. Marv stepped up, shanked it out of bounds. So Nancy drops, you know, where Marv is standing. They got a drop, stroke and distance. She hits a perfect 2-iron right up to the green, about 10 feet away. Marv steps up, puts it past the hole, off the green, off the fringe, into a greenside pond. So now Nancy has to drop near the greenside pond, chips it in for a 6. Okay, Nancy steps up, she drives again on hole number 2, 270 yards, right down the middle. Marv steps up, cold shanks it right out of bounds into a dry cleaner's. Nancy's got to drop again. Hits a beautiful little 3-iron up there, about 20 feet. Marv knocks it off the green again. Nancy makes the comebacker. Third hole, Nancy, 280, right down the middle. And Marv's feeling pretty good. Steps up to it and says, Nance, what do you want me to do with this one? She goes, miss it. I was going to tell my favorite euchre story with you and euchre. I don't know if you remember this, but some line shot, and my guy makes a great stop on it. And Bob says to euchre, geez, tough break, huh? And Bob Euchre goes, well, hell, that was really well hit. I used to count those. And Bob says, well, what do you mean you used to count that? He says, oh, anything I felt like I hit hard or hit well or, you know, made a good effort on, I counted. And Bob said, well, what do you figure your average was in the major leagues? He says 643. And to have Dan Jenkins in the crowd tonight, I know I'm just hitting and missing here, but Dan Jenkins, of course, I've been accused of doing a 20-year impression of Dan Jenkins, but he did teach me once. I heard him once, he made some people angry over the years with his writing. I haven't made very many people angry, but now and again. And guy went up to Dan Jenkins and said, you Dan Jenkins? And Dan said, yeah, guilty. He said, you got a problem? Jenkins goes, no, I don't got the problem. I got the typewriter. You got the problem. So I've always sort of held that. Now, I'd like for my niece to stand up. Caitlin Robinson is in the audience. She plays volleyball for North Carolina State. Caitlin. And she's accompanied by Andy Carson. He's going to play football this year for James Madison. Andy came all the way up. I was talking to some of the guys, Caitlin, and we have a couple rules if you want to be friends with sport writers. Just a few rules. One is, you never say, quote, we played well. That just ain't going to cut it. All right? What you got to say is, we turned them into smudge marks. You know? We turned them into complicated blood clots. You know, something. Give us something. Oh, they couldn't have scored if they'd have had an empty gym and a weekend. You know? Also carry plenty of blank receipts if you can. We'd appreciate that. You know, I've been here 4 times. I just, every time I come, I think it's better, and I'm more honored than ever. And the one thing that's kind of unfair, though, is I'm a national writer, and it's these guys that you see come up are wonderful writers, but the whole nation doesn't get to read them. The whole nation doesn't get to read Bob Verdi or Mike Downey, Jerry Green, or Jerry Eisenberg. So, just tonight, since I was out of things to write, I thought I'd let them write my speech for me. So we're going to begin with Bob Verdi. And Bob, will you stand up just for a second so people know who you are? Where are you, Bob? Yes, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Bob Verdi was trying to decide who would be his 1995 Sportsman of the Year. He decided it couldn't be Ben Wright because, quote, Ben Wright is still explaining those spike marks in his tongue. He said it couldn't be OJ, though Bob says he's looking forward to his coming documentary on how to practice 3-wood shots from a sand trap in the backyard late at night. He also eliminated boxer Peter McNeely, who he called a fraudulent canvasback who went from horizontal hold to selling us pizzas. He thought about nominating Northwestern because they went from nowhere to Rose Bowl without handcuffs, which isn't easy these days. He finally decided on Cigar because Cigar has very little chance of cheating on his income taxes, scaling a 3-story building to beat up his girlfriend, report to work drunk, or getting strung out on drugs. A daily column from Bob Verdi. Here's Dan Shaughnessy. Dan, where's Dan? Dan Shaughnessy, one of my favorites. This year, Dan was writing about Roger Clemens going to show up at spring training. And Roger generally shows up at spring training having put on the equivalent of a 9th grader in weight over the winter. So here's what Shaughnessy writes about waiting for Roger Clemens. And so we waited for the eggplant that ate Houston. We had our wide-angle lenses ready. We had literature from Jenny Craig, Liz Taylor, and Oprah Winfrey. We had a forklift ready to get Roger around the warning track for his first sprint. We recruited Jim Schoenfeld to lean over the ballpark railing and yell, "Have another donut, you fat pig." Our storyline was set. Clemens was going to be a 1990s bloated Brando in the bullpen. He was going to be a final days Elvis, flab spilling out of his white uniform, Nutty Buddy wrappers littered around his locker. I love that. Hardly anybody writes a Mother's Day column, but Ken Berger, Charleston, South Carolina Post and Courier, he took a look at the divorced single mother who has to work for a living and try to raise a little leaguer. So it was a very serious one. I just thought he did it so well. I just like to read part of it. He says, she does not know that the small boy in the batter's box is too wide in his stance and too high on the handle. She only knows that this is where she must be. Since the divorce, she has assumed the absent father's role as best she can. She has bought uniforms and shoes. She has tossed batting practice in the backyard. She has bought and sorted baseball cards. She has nursed skinned knees and tried to heal broken hearts. What she does not know about baseball could fill a book. All she knows for certain is that her son is at bat, and she has to be there, and that overrides her innocent lack of knowledge of the game. She is there, sometimes late, but she is always there. How about, is Pat Forty here? Pat Forty, Louisville. Pat Forty just got skipped, I'm sorry. One of my favorites is Mike Downey. Mike Downey, the LA Times, although every time I read Mike Downey, I want to, burn the laptop and take up, dentistry. He's so good. Here's Downey on the NBA's recent problems. Just a typical daily column out of Downey. If it isn't Scottie Pippen keeping a firearm in his glove compartment and giving new meaning to the term outside shot, it's Eldon Campbell's crashing his Mercedes-Benz on some Simi Valley highway, getting arrested for felony DUI, and giving new meaning to driving in the lane. It's Dennis Rodman attempting to do a Vulcan mind meld with an NBA referee, saying he would like to meet face-to-face with Commissioner Stern, who says, okay, that's fine as long as it isn't head-to-head. The NBA, I love this game. And lastly, from one of my favorites who doesn't get read very much, John Rhodey. Gets read in Oklahoma plenty, but around the country. And John Rhodey became the first man in history to propose marriage to his girlfriend from the left-hand column of the sports page. And here's what he wrote. It's with trembling fingers and a racing heart I typed the following. Debbie Burkhart, will you marry me? Some men get on one knee to propose, others do so with a fancy dinner. A few have asked on billboards, scoreboards, or by message plane. Me, I prefer to do it in Oklahoma's largest and only statewide newspaper. So he goes on, and at the end, he finally ends with, so does it sound like a good idea? Please let me know as soon as possible. And if you can, don't respond with a letter to the editor. Folks, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Rick, Bob, and to Marv again, thank you for being here. One of the best things about my position with NSSA is that I get a chance to introduce some fine people to all of you. Now, I've been watching Billy Packer for many years, and this is the first time I've had a chance to tell you about him. He won the Sports Emmy Award for Outstanding Sports Personality Analyst in 1993. The only thing wrong with that was that it didn't happen sooner. And we in the Carolinas have known that he was Mr. Personality long before anybody else knew. He has covered 21 NCAA Division I men's basketball championships as an analyst, and the last 14 for CBS Sports. His dad was the basketball coach at Lehigh University, but he came south to play basketball at Wake Forest University, just about 40 miles from here. He was an All-Atlantic Coast Conference guard from 1960 to 62. Playing in the Final Four in 1962. He also served as the assistant coach there from 1965 to 1969. He began covering sports on television in 1972 in Raleigh as a fill-in analyst. Well, he's been filling in ever since, and we're glad that he does. He's worked with Kurt Gowdy, Al McGuire, and of course, Dick Enberg, who is here tonight to be inducted into the National Sportscasters and Sportswriters Hall of Fame. And to do that induction is our own, now Carolinian, Billy Packer.
I'd like to roll the tape on my friend first of all.
These are the moments we all know Dick Enberg. Game on the line, millions of viewers, the succinct play-by-play.
The pressure on the Dallas defense. O'Donnell with a big second half. 4 linemen and 7 defensive backs. Blitz on. O'Donnell intercepted off the ground. There's a shot and a touchdown. Brown knocked out of bounds by John L. Williams. And Brown again, not even near the play. The ball thrown right to him.
Super Bowl 30, a far cry from Enberg's Michigan roots. This farm lad came to Central Michigan with a $100 scholarship. By his senior year, student body president, valedictorian of his senior class, and sports director of WCEN-AM paid the princely sum of $1 an hour. After earning his doctorate in health science, on to California as Professor Enberg. But the broadcasting fire still burned. College buddy Dean Davenport was there for the start of the big time.
Audition. And part of the audition was to bring in a celebrity, I guess, and interview them. And I was coaching out there at the time with him at Cal State Northridge. So he brought me in, did a sports show with the scoreboard and the whole things, and then interviewed me. And then afterwards, we went back in the guts of the studio and watched it over the shoulder of the engineer, while Gene Autry and his executives were watching also. And Dick was so critical. He was, I can't, look at that, he'd say, that's no good. And by the time he'd finished, he was so down on himself. And the door opened, and in came the executives, then offered him the job on the spot.
From there, a long association with UCLA and college basketball. Enberg called the play-by-play for the matchup that put the college game on the map. Lou Alcindor's Bruins versus Elvin Hayes' Houston Cougars.
There's the man they want to get it to. It's Hayes, 15-footer. Elvin Hayes, cheered on by Coach Sky Lewis, has the Cougars back in the lead, 67-65. Hayes has 37. Nielsen, blocked by Cheney. Warren, 22-footer, in and out. Hayes with a rebound. The Big E. 3 seconds. The Houston Cougars have snapped UCLA's 47-game winning streak and pandemonium at the Astrodome.
In 1975, Dick joined NBC Sports and shortly thereafter began chronicling the career of another Michigan native, Irvin Magic Johnson.
Oh,
relationship that continued a decade later.
It's Porter. Not there. Rebound Johnson. He just throws it to the other end. And finally out of bounds with 1/10 of a second left. Now, you talk about the brilliance of magic.
And extended to what we thought was the conclusion of an incredible career.
6-5. Three-pointer. Yes! Oh, my! Ladies and gentlemen, you just can't orchestrate it better than that. But when you're great, you deliver on cue.
Through the years, Dick has anchored some of the most respected announcing teams in the industry. Merlin Olsen for the NFL, Billy Packer and Al McGuire in college basketball. Although things got a little out of hand once Billy moved on to another network.
Oh, what? You got some other business. Oh, we'll be right back after these commercials. How you doing? No, from you, no, again, from your local station. Oh, from your local station. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
His ability to share a laugh and to share a tear. His sensitivity to people and their story. Dick gives us a reason to care in a style all his own.
2 years ago, the woman, the mother who encouraged a skating career, gone, dead at 36. By Yule, no brothers, no sisters, no father, no mother. 2 years after her death, this remarkable daughter has won an improbable world championship. And for the thousands who watched here in Prague and the millions who viewed worldwide, for a moment, we were the mother she doesn't have. We wanted to cry in her joy and hug with her hopes. For me, Oksana Bayul will always be Prague.
If there is one event that suits Dick Enberg better than any other, it is Wimbledon. The mix of English tradition with the best in tennis brings out the poet in Enberg. Apropos to an event that has Kipling inscribed over the doors to center court. A man who can truly walk with kings, yet not lose the common touch. The 1995 inductee into the NSSA Hall of Fame, Dick Enberg.
Oh my. This is truly a great honor for me to be up here to salute a friend and obviously to be part of a great celebration with Dan Jenkins to follow here tonight, two of the legendary figures in the industry. Triple play all the way around, and congratulations to Rick and Bob, two guys that certainly carry the torch of all the people in the room here for their great work that they do. I thought for a while here we were going to have a roast instead of a toast, so I'm going to keep mine strictly to the toast side. And just a little insight into this incredible individual. You saw the game up there, UCLA against Houston. That was the first time in my life that I ever heard of a Dick Enberg. I watched that game, as I'm sure everybody who loves basketball did, and I watched this fella and I said, God, he's a good announcer. I've never seen anybody quite so enthusiastic on top of his game, and never thought I'd get an opportunity to meet the man. And then in 1975, a very strange thing happened. A man by the name of C.D. Chesley, who all of us down in this part of the country remember as the founder of syndicated basketball in this area, and a guy by the name of Eddie Einhorn, who really did likewise around the rest of the nation, two bitter rivals, decided to come together to syndicate a game between UCLA and Maryland. And it's the first time those two people had ever worked together. C.D. Chesley was a guy that I was honored to work for down here with Jim Thacker. And of course, at that time, Dick was the mainstay of Eddie Einhorn's stable of announcers and, of course, the voice of the UCLA Bruins. And they decided to come together to broadcast this game on a national basis. And I'll never forget, I was called that morning to breakfast by C.D. and to Eddie Einhorn, who I had never met prior to that time, to be informed that we were going to do something rather unusual. They couldn't come to agreement who would be the play-by-play voice, and so consequently, they said, Billy, you are going to be the color man, and Dick is going to work half of the game as a broadcaster, and Jim will work the other half. And when the man is not broadcasting, we're going to put him down on the floor. And the first thing that came across my mind is, hey, here's this West Coast smoothie. I knew that Jim Thacker was a gentleman, that he would understand the role, would obviously do what was ever necessary to go ahead and take on that position when he wasn't announcing, and go down on the court and clean towels if that was necessary. But what would this guy Enberg do when he is going to be informed that he's only working half a game? And we came together in a room, and I was only one of three that knew what was really going to happen. And so I thought to myself, I'm going to watch this guy Enberg to see what his reaction will be. Obviously, he's liable to walk out of the room. I mean, what an ego trip he must be from LA with this great background. And I'll never forget, they told him what was going to happen, and I forget which one was going to work the game in the first half. And Dick never, not an eyelash even moved, and he said, that's terrific. And Jim, I'll be happy to help you in any way. Don't feel obliged to come down to me on the side court at all. Best of luck in what you're doing, of any help I can be. And it was, I could tell it was so genuine. I said, boy, this guy's special, not just as a broadcaster, but as an individual. I never knew that he and I would be working together the very next year on national television. And it happened that way. But very unusual for me, and maybe not for the network executives, but that very next year, Dick and I had a chance to work a national championship. It really turned out to be my second, because the year before I had worked with Kurt Gowdy in my first. And Kurt, who is a Hall of Famer, who I'm honored to work with as well. And the funny problem that NBC had is that Kurt Gowdy had an existing contract that stated that he must be the announcer for the national championship. And of course, here they had Dick Enberg, who was going to be the legendary broadcaster. Everybody knew that he was in the spot, but how do you move aside a Kurt Gowdy? And here I am, Billy Pachkowski, called in by the network executives, and they say, Billy, there's going to be a terrible problem. We really can't call upon ourselves to tell Kurt that he is not going to work both games, nor can we tell Dick. So we've decided to open up the national championship. You're going to be in the middle. And I looked at Chet Simmons, and I'm thinking, you have got to be crazy. You know, these are we're talking about legends here. I'm going to be in the middle of a Gowdy and an Enberg, and I said, why would I do that? I'll be happy to go in the sidelines. I mean, let them announce the game. No, that's not the way we're going to do it. And I said, well, why am I standing there? And they said, well, we don't know. Their egos may get it away, and they'll fight for the microphone. And I thought to and network executives haven't changed much to this day, but I thought to myself, you know, I know Dick Enberg a lot better than these people do, because the last thing that he would ever do would be to try to grab the mic from a Kurt Gowdy, with all the great respect that he had for a Kurt Gowdy, and the great professional that Kurt was, that he would never do anything like they had in mind. And of course, it worked out so well. And one of the things, and the reason I wanted to mention those two personal stories, is because Dick is now going to enter in as a broadcaster. You know, I hope all of you people will take the time to go over to the new Hall of Fame to basically see the lineup. You know, when you walk in the room and you see Grantland Rice, and you see Ted Husing, and you see Mel Allen, and guys like Kurt, Ray Scott that I had an opportunity to broadcast. I mean, it's just mind-boggling to think of all the great enjoyment that these people have brought to the game. All tremendous in their own right. But let's talk about a guy who is still at the top of his game, whether it be the Olympics, whether it be baseball, whether it be boxing, whether it be ice skating, whether it be professional basketball, college basketball, golf, professional football. Name the sport and start talking about the great broadcasters in those sports. And Dick has to be ranked with the very best in each and every one of those sports, regardless of what it is. And what incredible versatility. And I am not going to be, I'm not smart enough to sit here and argue as to who is the best at a given sport, or the best all around that there has ever been. But I will say this, and I'll say this unequivocally. There is no one in that Hall of Fame that as a broadcaster has been able to build teams like this man has. When you take in consideration an Al McGuire, a Bud Collins, a Johnny Miller, a Merlin Olsen, all entirely different people. Some with great inadequacies, as we saw in regard to my friend Al McGuire up there. You know, the farthest and most removed individual from broadcasting talent that there has ever been. And to think how Dick, with every one of these people, among everybody else he's ever worked with, is able to take them and turn them into a great team. No one in the history of broadcasting has ever been able to do that anywhere near to the ability that a Dick Enberg has. So when we honor this fellow tonight, and with the many honors he's received, too many for me to even go into, with Emmy Awards for not only broadcasting but for writing, it goes on and on and on. I will go on record, and I'm sure everyone here will join me to say he is the greatest team broadcaster that has ever had a microphone in front of him. And as that young kid said in that little piece, what is a Hall of Famer? You know, and all the great writers and broadcasters we've out here tonight probably couldn't say it as well as what that piece about Lenny Moore that we saw earlier tonight. And the guy said, what is a Hall of Famer? And the kid says, it's somebody who's as good a person as they are a player. Well, the man that will be inducted tonight is a better person than he is a player. And it's an honor to know him as a fellow broadcaster, as a great friend. Oh my, Dick Enberg.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
These are times I wish I could be as clever and as humorous as my colleagues. I'm very touched by your reception, and I'm touched by friends who care, and the honor that I've had to be in a profession that has allowed me 40 years of weekly challenges and excitement, and to even be in the company of such great people who have preceded me and pioneered our craft. I was afraid of this, so I normally don't try to write things down, so excuse me if I get through this first part here. To Billy, who is going to be honored in a couple of weeks, the Kurt Gowdy Basketball Hall of Fame honor up in Springfield, and so deserving. Congratulations to you, and thank you for being here tonight. To all the sportscasters and sportswriters who have been honored here tonight. I can remember the first time I came here to Salisbury almost 30 years ago, and what a thrill it was to be in the company of players that are here this evening. And Bob is absolutely right on when he says the beauty of coming to Salisbury is, even if you haven't been around for 30 years, when you come back, one thing doesn't change, and that is that this is a place where Southern hospitality gives you all it has from deep within its heart. My congratulations to Bob and Rick, two men who and I think they show tonight why we enjoy their work so much. They're intensely intelligent, and yet they have such a great sense of humor. They allow us to enjoy what they offer, and the envy of all of us that they can put a subject and predicate in every sentence. And of course, to Dan Jenkins, whose incredible wit has spiced our sports life for so many years. I'm indeed honored to be in your company tonight. My family, you met my brother Dennis from Durham, and my sister's daughter Ashley is here from Charlotte, and the rest of the Team Enberg clan. Thank you for being part of this evening. Thank you to Coca-Cola for your immense contribution to the Hall of Fame, in a lot of nice zeros after your contribution. The corporate clout that you bring to our company, the Sportscasters and Sportswriters, and I had the chance to see the evidence of your work and the work of so many others who have contributed, and finally those of us in writing and broadcasting sports will have a place where we can come back someday, or long after we're gone, those from our families and around the world will be able to go and say, well, that's what it was like back in the old days in the 1900s. So thank you indeed for your support, and we all owe you a great debt in that regard. My dream was to be the athlete. I was a kid. I practiced in the farm. We taught myself to bat left-handed and would hit rocks. I'd hit rocks alone and broadcast one team left-handed. I'd have their whole lineup, and the other team right-handed, and I had a game. And one thing we had a lot of at our farm was rocks. And if I hit it over the telephone wires, that was a home run. I've hit a line drive that went under the wires, but over the 33-mile road, that was a double. And if I didn't make it over to the culvert, that was an out, and I would work out a whole game, and on a lucky Sunday, maybe even a doubleheader. And so my broadcasting career really began then, although my dream was to be the guy hitting cleanup. But my college experience taught me quickly that I did talk a better game. And my dream has taken me to a wonderful place. I have some bad news for some of the younger sportscasters. Whenever someone has come up since this announcement was made about the Hall of Fame, there's the first response is congratulations on the Hall of Fame, and then there's a pause, and a totally predictable question follows that. And by the way, when are you going to retire? And I have some grave news in that regard. I still find this a narcotic. I still am excited by every assignment every weekend. I still can't let go of what has become such a joy in my life. And I have a wife who would threaten me with some island of despair if I ever did leave what I do. In fact, just last year there was an opportunity to not do quite so much for NBC, and so I went to my wife and someone who last time I was here 14 years ago walked through the door about this time on a rainy night, who had gone to Charlotte. She was working in New York at NBC. We had started a relationship. She went to Charlotte, took a cab from Charlotte to Salisbury, and walked into the room, and I realized then, wow, my life's about to change. And indeed, we have a 12- and 10-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son that is evidence of that change. But it does stir some wonderful memories of my last visit to Salisbury. But anyway, she looked me in the eye and she said, I said, well, I could be off from January into football season, January, February, March, April, until we go to Paris and the French Open. And she looked at me as if I was insane and said, you know, I don't think we could handle your being around here with nothing to do for 4 months, throwing a shoe at the TV set. She said, I love you most of all when you're happy, and you're happiest when you're working, so why would you not want to be happy? Why would you not want to be happy? So the answer, sadly, is that I'm not about to retire. My life is a work in progress, and in fact, NBC willing and Dick Ebersol was thinking it would be kind of nice to go 9 more years and make it an even 50 before I return to my other love. Go ahead, thanks. To return to my other love, and that would be back in a classroom on some college or university campus. The gift of being able, as a kid that dreamed about sports, to have met all my heroes, from Ted Williams to Joe DiMaggio, Doak Walker and Walter Payton, Nolan Ryan, and to work with the great Don Drysdale, Magic Johnson and Joe Louis.